Softbank has emerged as one of the most aggressive investors into the world of technology and decentralization. The telecom company is now looking to blockchain technology to improve fragmented identification and authentication services. In order to do this, the company began working with TBCA Soft, as well as collaborating with a blockchain study group called the Carrier Blockchain Study Group. Softbank is attempting to use TBCA Soft's infrastructure to help with cross-carrier identification and authentication services. It does this using zero-knowledge proofs, which is a way of ensuring that information is secured on a blockchain, while making certain that the content of the information is not revealed publicly. This allows users on the system to maintain a virtual identity on the blockchain without fear of identity theft or personal information leaks. Previously, TBCA and Softbank have worked with Synchros Technologies in order to develop peer-to-peer payments from mobile devices. Softbank has become a major tech investor after investing in Alibaba and acquiring companies like Lyft and Uber. It has also established a $100 billion vision fund for investing in technological advancements like blockchain and crypto companies. The Tron blockchain has its sights set on institutional investments in its upcoming hard fork. Since its inception, Justin Sun's blockchain has come out swinging to overtake the decentralized platform market. To that end, it has decided to launch its newest 3.5 upgrade on the last day of February. This coincides with Ethereum's upcoming Constantinople hard fork, which has been delayed consistently owing to security issues and lack of consensus among its members. In the meantime, Tron is working on drawing support from investors and developers alike in order to become the new king of the altcoins. Justin Sun stated on Twitter that the 3.5 hard fork would allow the multi-signature account management, which is specifically geared towards building businesses on the blockchain. He also touted higher real-time network performance, as well as increased utility for decentralized apps. This seems to be aimed at distinguishing Tron as a blockchain, which is able to scale with more ease than its competitors Ethereum and EOS. TRX has made some major corporate partnerships, including BitGo, Binance, and BitTorrent. This makes Tron one of the most aggressive companies in the blockchain market, leading many to wonder if they will be the new king of the blockchains. I'm now joined with two expert guests to give their opinion on the biggest stories of the day. On Skype, we have Alexander Geralis and Jeff Hancock. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, Alexander, we'll start with you. So, firstly, new leaders are emerging in the blockchain and decentralized technology space, like Softbank and Tron. So, do you think that this is a natural competition, or do these companies have the opportunity to overthrow the old guard? What do you think?
I don't really see them as competition because, Softbank is a publicly listed company. There's a lot of institutional money in there. They even have sovereign wealth funds that are invested in their more private ventures, such as the Vision Fund. Whereas Tron is more, let's say, traditional crypto. They've done an ICO. They raised 70 million. Everyone had access to it. So although they're both, seeing how they can leverage blockchain and how they can kind of, especially on Tron's side, decentralize, the web and the Internet of Things, I don't see them as competition. Rather, they kind of can work in synergy.
Okay, sure. And Jeff, do you agree, disagree? Where do you stand on this?
No, I agree on that. Obviously, I have a quite unique perspective, having actually worked at Softbank for over a year. And whenever I read something about them in the media, the Vision Fund always gets kind of thrown in there somewhere. Softbank is a large group of companies, over 200 businesses, with the main business in Japan being telecoms, which are the ones that are doing something in blockchain, and the Chinese fund, which is actually doing something with Atlas. But at the same time, just to echo, it was a massive institution, a lot of private investors, a lot of acquisitions in that sort of field as well. Whereas Tron was the traditional ICO, built from the ground up, extremely quickly, doesn't have what you say, like a long track record just yet. You know, they're only a few years old, and now they're going to go through that model of acquiring other businesses like they did with BitTorrent. But at the same time, the way that they do that business with hype and announcement after announcement after announcement does sort of rub some other people the wrong way and doesn't look as professional sometimes. So I wouldn't say they're contending in the same space, but they're still both very interesting to watch.
And Tron actually is one of the most aggressive companies operating in the crypto space at the moment. So, Alexander, why do you think that is?
You know, they really placed themselves in a good position. They had good partnerships. The ICO did really well, and they were kind of, you know, one of the last big ICOs that kept the hype, even though it was a bear market. And then at the same time, like John said, when they acquired, BitTorrent and they done the BTT ICO on their own blockchain, that just kind of helped, you know, fuel the fire. And crypto is still, you know, very, very hyped, very kind of emotional traders, and this definitely helped them.
Okay, sure. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely one of the most aggressive ones in the space. Whenever I think of ICOs and ITOs and all the other acronyms that are out there for each, the same thing at the moment is marketing and hype. And if you're extremely good at marketing and you're extremely good at hype, then you can do very, very well in this space. Myself, with the exchange that I run at the moment, we were looking to do an ICO sometime last year. The hype was kind of dying down. The market was kind of, going downwards, so we decided not to do that. All of the ecosystem that kind of pops out to help promote your ICO and market it and get it out to the right people and all the other bits that go towards it. I think the ecosystem for ICOs is probably worse than some of the ICO launches themselves, because you can literally just pay for everything. You can pay for articles, you can pay for followers, you can pay for absolutely everything, and that's how a lot of the bad ICOs that aren't helping the space at all, they've kind of ruined it for everybody else that have really good legitimate businesses. So.
And I can see Alexander's agreeing with you there. And just back to Softbank for a sec. Softbank's Vision Fund has proven itself to be an important opportunity for major businesses and startups alike. So what does this mean for blockchain projects? Jeff, do you want to start?
Sure. I have to be really, really careful here. What it means with blockchain projects, I think the ones that come out with, because when I think of blockchain and crypto are two completely different things. Crypto as a cryptocurrency or as a DApp or something brand new, then that's fine. But blockchain as a tech is definitely going to change a lot of different businesses all over the world. Now, will SoftBank as a business leverage them? And yes, they already are in some of the telecoms businesses and one of the funds in China. But the Vision Fund specifically, which is what I was saying earlier, gets mixed into a lot of this press. It's not really on their radar right now because they're traditionally, the Vision Fund and its vision is it's a 300-year vision. It's trying to improve every aspect of human life through robotics, through AI, better insurance, better shopping, better e-commerce, that kind of thing. So blockchain doesn't really tie into that vision right now. But then, once blockchain is proven a few years down the track, Masayoshi-san may, rewrite and update that vision to include blockchain projects, or blockchain projects will find its way into that space naturally over time.
Okay, sure. So really just a progression, slow progression. Yeah. And Alexander, where do you stand on this?
Yeah. Jeff covered that exceptionally well.
Hang on, do you mind just repeating that a sec? I think we lost you for a second there. Just sort of repeat that for me, please.
Sure. I think Jeff covered that question exceptionally well. The blockchain kind of hype for these companies, it doesn't necessarily mean they want the hype. Instead, they actually want to use the tech, and they want to use the tech to, be more efficient or save money, or actually bring solutions that it's worth having blockchain integrated there, not just blockchain for blockchain's sake. And again, it is good. I do think that it's positive, but it's just kind of an extra benefit for cryptocurrency because cryptocurrencies run on blockchain. But like Jeff said, cryptocurrencies and blockchain are not necessarily the same thing.
Absolutely. And while decentralized projects used to operate largely on their own, we now are seeing them joining together to create networks. So is there a danger that this will lead to de facto centralization? Is that something, do you think that could happen?
I think it could. It really depends now. I think you're getting really specific into particular products and particular partnerships. If they're naturally a decentralized one where I can go onto the GitHub, I can download the code, and I can run my own node, then sure, that's completely decentralized, and it's not owned by anyone but the community. Now, but if there are companies that are running all the nodes themselves, and it's not completely open source, and then they partner with another chain that may or may not be open source, then yeah, that is kind of getting into a bit of a de facto centralization. And I suppose it comes down to control and what that chain is actually used for. Whether it's an exchange token or this new JPM coin, which is Quorum from back ages ago, it's kind of yet to be seen on how they're going to be leveraged long term, and are they going to be more enterprise than privacy focused and internal, or are they going to be properly out there run by a community?
Alexander, what do you think? Do you think it also runs the risk?
I don't think it's so much of a risk. I do think that it's difficult to have a truly decentralized project, especially with these ICOs, because you have to remember, a team came up with the idea and a team ran the ICO. And coming back to Tron, okay, there's many nodes. I think it's over 11,000 or something like that. But Justin Sun is still kind of the face of Tron, and what he says does matter. It's the same with, to a lesser extent, it's the same with Ethereum. And the best example is obviously Bitcoin. But most of the ERC20 tokens, they do have an aspect of centralization, at least in terms of a team and who we look to. And like Jeff said, the best way is probably, try include as many people as possible and try not be so selective, about who's going to run a node. There was a little bit of noise about a decentralized exchange, which is now, it's still in testnet, and there's just 11 nodes. I'm not going to say the name, but you guys probably know who it is. There's just 11 nodes, and it looks like it's, the face of that project's friends that have the nodes. So, yeah, it's not a risk, but it's just the way things are, unfortunately.
Okay, sort of just the nature of it, and I can see Jeff agreeing with you there. And Tron is attempting to bring institutional investors onto its platform. So what does this mean in practical terms? Are they attempting to make their dApp constellation more robust? What do you think, Jeff?
I'm not a programmer by any means, but only some of the research that I've, YouTube, Google, talking with friends that are a lot more knowledgeable in the space than me. They don't like the look of the code whatsoever. They're actually amazed that some dApps are actually running on it. And there's still a lot of work to do. So if they're trying to bring institutional players into the space that will actually contemplate putting a dApp out there or putting any sort of sensitive data out into a blockchain, either they're getting a massive incentive, which, that's what a lot of businesses can thrive on. If it's like a sandbox environment or a certain project, etc., then they'll go and test it. But there's a lot of options out there. Whenever we talk about dApps and supporting and what they support, how they can run, speed, etc., I don't think anyone needs a huge transactions per second at the moment, because no one's putting huge loads on a particular network. I mean, if you look at CryptoKitties, right, that was a dApp on Ethereum, and it crunched the network because it was extremely heavy and required a lot of transactions. But that's just one particular use case. There are so many platforms out there now that a lot of people can leverage and test on that they may not choose Tron. They might choose Neo. They might not choose Neo. They might use Ontology or kick back to Ethereum. It really depends on what they want. So I think it's either going to take a massive marketing push and a massive incentive push to get institutionals to run on Tron. But from a programming perspective, I'd still need to, ask and see, and if I were to ask a developer what would they build on and what would they prefer, I could say with probably 50% certainty they wouldn't choose Tron.
Okay, sure. And Alexander, do you also think that we're going to need an incentive push? Where do you stand on this?
I think, yeah, they are trying to get a push to get more investment and, even a little bit more hype. I wouldn't really use the term institutional investors because, in my opinion, institutional investing is where, we're allowed to use other people's money in a regulated way, or in a legal way at least, and invest it in projects such as Tron and whatnot. And currently, that in most countries, that's still not okay. They won't let you do that. You can perhaps do so on a private basis, like you can go to somebody and allow them to do so. But again, that's kind of retail investing to me. However, I think if the BTT, the BitTorrent, if the white paper really does what it says it will do, and they get the incentive, and people see the value in a project that was based on the TRX blockchain, and it succeeds, that'll definitely help. Because for now, a lot of these platform tokens, their killer app was ICOs. So Ethereum and all of these, EOS and Tron and everyone, they done their ICO first raising Ethereum, and then later moved to their own blockchain. So if it just becomes another wave of, okay, we've got more blockchains that we can use to raise ICOs in an efficient way, and they can scale and they can take the load, I don't think it's enough. I think, especially after, the 2017 bull market, like now we actually have to have better reasons, better incentives to go forward, especially for people that want to put in a sizable amount of money.
Okay, very, very insightful there. And just finally, both of these companies are betting on the future of technology. So is it possible that their investments don't pay off? Jeff, what do you think?
Oh, totally. I mean, tech is, it's not the pointiest end of the stick when it comes to investments. But, a lot of people out there are trying to build things for the new world, and a lot of them are not gonna pan out properly. Saying that, Softbank's got a lot of people, a lot of dedicated, really, really, really good people that are sitting there on a huge pile of cash, and they don't necessarily need to spend it. They've got a debt raise as well as an equity raise, so they can be very, very picky. But when they find an opportunity they like, that will work, that does have market share, that can grow to a global perspective, they can take a massive swing. Some of the stuff in the Tron universe, if they've got a large investment up front, 70 million is nothing to shake at. But when it was raised in Ethereum, and if it wasn't sold back into fiat currency straight away or distributed, then some of the runway can get severely clobbered really, really quickly. And if they don't make those strategic investments and make them work, then I think kind of maybe the Tron ecosystem is probably more at risk for making those investments long-term work, rather than Softbank that already has a sustainable model before they even spent any money.
I see. And Alexander, what do you want to add just here?
Yeah, Jeff, well said. I mean, Softbank, it's a public company. They have more money than most people can imagine. Then again, times 70 million was, it's a decent amount of money. But like Jeff said, I personally know ICO teams that they did raise a good amount of money, and they didn't hedge, or they didn't think about, how much they should take out. And, very quickly it turned to a much smaller amount. And that puts strain on the teams. And we did see teams that went under. Let's look at startups. Like, most startups fail, right? And what is an ICO? For me, an ICO was just, instead of, an initial coin offering, it's kind of like a venture coin offering, where you are essentially like angel investing in a company that many of which were just cash grabs, and then the few that weren't, they wanted to pull off something really big. So just like a lot of startups failed, it's possible that a lot of ICOs failed. However, I think Tron is in a good position to pull it off, and I really hope they. And it'll be good to see teams that they actually use these funds and they do what they said they were going to do, and not just that, but it succeeds, because sometimes they pull it off, but it's not enough to capitalize on. It's not enough to create revenue from.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Lots just to keep a lookout for. Jeff.